This is the Hesston Steam Museum in Hesston, Indiana. I'm Darren, and this is the Industrial Revolution. Well, at least I hope it's the Industrial Revolution. I've actually never been here and don't know a lot about the place. Although I do know one thing. There's one engine here that's supposed to be running. I don't know if it's running this weekend, but it's supposed to be running. It's one I've wanted to see for a long, long time. Let's go in and take a look. So they do have some little steam engines out here, and those are cool. Some of these were custom built and are fairly recent. Some of them are actually, I think they said their oldest one's about 100 years old. These were, at this gauge, they were originally designed and built to transport people around events like World's Fair sites. And more recently, they take people around in amusement parks and lots of other places. Go ahead and get a good look at this one. Standard steam engine, all the normal components. You can see, looking at the tender here, you even have coal, and you can see the fire there burning in the firebox. See what else they have here today. One of the interesting things that we have here, and you used to see a lot more of this than you do today, is the dual gauge. Now all of this is actually narrow gauge. This one's narrow gauge here too, but they have two different narrow gauge lines here. And you see they have a car on the outer rails, and you can also put a car on the left two rails here. And they're set up the same way over here. Again, it's dual gauge, lets you use whatever rails you have. And there were actually couplings designed to allow you to use standard gauge and narrow gauge, or a couple different narrow gauge, on the same train, pulling with the same locomotive. And to do that, you actually just loaded up some extra couplers, so you could have 3 different couplers on each end of each car. You'd have the standard, the larger, whatever that was, in the center, and then on both sides, typically lower, you'd also run the smaller gauge. When you run dual gauge, your switches start to get really complicated, as you can see here, because you're not just moving 2 things anymore. You have to ensure that the inner one can go straight through what would normally be the points on the outer one. And that can add a lot of complexity. We can see that here we have, instead of 2 moving pieces, we have 3 on this switch. A lot more frogs up here to catch it. Also a lot more guardrails in case something does happen to go wrong. The guardrails are the little stubs that don't actually take any traffic on them, but do serve a very useful purpose. Here's the rails for that one that does like the World's Fair type circuits. Let's go see what else we have. We'll wait for the big train to show up. Over here we have a boiler and a steam hammer. Boilers are pretty basic. Check out my video on boilers if you want to know how those work. Steam hammer, something used in blacksmith shops, and it uses steam power to lift and drop this big, heavy weight here. So instead of hitting this over and over by hand with a hammer, your steam piston lifts that up and then drops it. It's a standard steam piston. Steam winch. Actually, looks like just the regular winch. You'd need the steam power on it. This one does have all the steam power on it. In fact, this one's got 2 cylinders on it, it looks like, for a winch. You have to remember that what we use today, that now we're using diesel or electric, it was pretty common to have pretty much, they ran steam before, and before that often water power even. This is a railroad steam crane. So basically it has the standard steam winch on top of it, and you just have that on a standard, well, heavily built flatbed rail car, and you can tow this around. But I do hear my ride showing up here. We'll wait for the train to show up. We do have an old manual switch here. 2 levers to throw 2 different switches. And signal lights up on top. Looks like no interlocking on this one. Bigger yards, of course, would have interlocks so trains don't run into each other. Is coming this time. Of course, there's nothing wrong with a bit of good-natured train racing, right?
The train residence on the left is our 14-inch gauge railroad. These are used for world fairs, small amusement parks, and roadside attractions, and also the state railway. Crazy people, also known as eccentric when you have a lot of money, would build these trains in their backyard, but originally they were used for world fairs. One of the locomotives that we have on that railroad is over 100 years old. Green Ocean. You'll see just in a moment on your left why we call it Michigan Curve, because we are just a stone's throw from Michigan, and
there's so much to see here at the museum. I'm going to cut the train ride short here, but don't worry, I'll be back to focus just on the trains another time.
Over 13 feet.
So this is some of the not rain that apparently we're getting today. We just got off the train and started pouring here. My camera can't swim, but I have an umbrella, so let's go take a look around and see what else we have available here. Sorry if some of the shots are a little more compressed. I've got to keep the camera under the umbrella. So coming up here on one of the bigger stationary steam engines here. Of the valve gear here. If you know valve gear on locomotives, you probably know the valve gear here as well. All tends to run kind of the same way. Of course, we have the single piston. The coffee cans are on the oilers, so that water doesn't get in. And all of these are fed by the same boiler. It looks like an old locomotive boiler. Another small stationary engine here. It's an 1890. So this one ran a sawmill in 1890 over in Goshen, Indiana. Thought that looked like a Corliss. This is a Corliss steam engine. Corliss, check out my video on the Corliss steam engines. They were very specifically made to be very, very smooth operating engines. Okay, so this was built for a munitions plant originally. There's the town's first electrical generator. This produced DC power. And it's a very popular place because of the rain right now. Everyone's hiding under any roof they can find. 40 kilowatt. The way these work, you have a fairly standard steam engine over here, run just like any other steam engine. Instead of running a belt to a pulley, you just go straight into that alternator. An old steam-powered sawmill. Looks like it's not running today, unfortunately, but we'll take a look. Looks like they're running on wood. That was a pretty common thing for sawmills when they went to steam. Because one thing sawmills always have, as you can see here, it's a lot of scrap wood. You get the pieces you cut off the end, you get the side pieces you cut off. So a basic boiler. Water tank here. There's actually a really good way to see this. Is the same way that water tanks tended to work in railroads. That looks a lot like the float tank on the back of the toilet too. We have the steam engine here. Steam engine runs from the main drive pulley down to the pulley that runs the blades. And it looks like in this case I don't see that they have that driven. It's not running and they're not saying anything, so I'll wander back here. Yep, this is driven. You can see on the bottom of the sled here you have that rod, and that goes back, so that's powered as well. And you got a couple of cables there to turn. So unfortunately this one's not running today. Some other little power supplies over here. So John Deere you probably know from the tractors. That's certainly where I know it from. This is a stationary John Deere, it looks like. I don't know if it started that way, or if it was pulled off a tractor at some point and converted. Which is also very possible. Actually, this one looks like it may have always been stationary. And in front of it here we have a stationary steam engine. Those were relatively common. If you don't have a huge factory, that's really about all you need. Pump the steam into it. You've got your pulley over there on the right, and that handles your drive system. And all the stuff you see on any regular steam engine. A single piston. About all you needed, really. Let's go see what else we have here. And a collection of traction engines. As we're typically not tractors, you didn't usually actually directly pull anything with these. Well, you'd pull your machinery, whether that's portable sawmill or thrashing machines or whatever. You'd hook those on and drive farm to farm with these traction engines. And you'd run them there. And you'd move on to the next town. Pretty nice collection of traction engines, really. There's so much good stuff to see here, I can't show it all in the video. If you're a steam fan, be sure to give yourself hours to explore this place. You'll need it. And also be sure to talk to the great volunteers around the museum, too. Thank them for all the work they do. We're kind of working on some stuff here. I got a boiler. It's like a newly built boiler. Parts of an overhead line drive system. Really a little tractor.
So this came out of a shop from the Civil War era, and I thought this was a model or something, but nope, it's a purpose-built machine. And we can actually run it, pretty much.
Here's a replica of the 1829 Tom Thumb locomotive, built the same year as Robert Stephenson's rocket. I'll be back for another video on this one.
He made a lot of really cool things, like I think he came up with the manufacturing process for modern-day steel beams. He was a big proprietor in laying the transatlantic cable between the U.S. and Europe.
Okay, so we're headed down to the blacksmith shop. Blacksmiths are actually quite a bit pre-industrial revolution, but that's okay. Can't build steam engines without them. Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
You good? What are you making today?
We're working on a sign, and Tom's making an article for it.
Doing a sign for the new blacksmith shop.
Cool. So we have two of their locomotives running here side by side. Far one built for the Germans in World War II and then hidden from them, the Czechoslovakians who built it. The front one, little one typically used to give rides initially around World's Fair sites, later around zoos and other amusement parks. One of the great things about smaller museums is that you can get much more up close and personal with everything. And you have more chances to talk with the staff and volunteers, to hear the stories, and really to see the things you'd never be able to see in a larger museum.
How you doing?
Good. Can I poke my camera in there?
Sure.
On the other side here. Do you run this one yourself?
No.
Okay. Here, you always have two. It's a little warm in there. this is the Shay locomotive here at the Hesston Steam Museum, and this is what got me to drive 3 hours each way today. I wanted to see this. I was hoping it was going to be running, but it's not today, but I did get a private tour back here from the executive director, so I get a chance to see it. It runs on Labor Day weekend if you're in the area. So I'm really excited to see this, very different from any other steam locomotive you've ever seen. So this is actually the very last narrow gauge Shay locomotive ever made, and one of only a tiny handful of Shays still running today. They shifted the boiler over to the left, which made room for all the stuff on the right. Unlike most other steam locomotives, the drivers are on trucks or bogies. These can rotate independently of each other, and each drive axle is connected by gears to the single drive shaft running the full length of the locomotive and tender. Between the trucks, there's a sliding square prismatic joint to let the locomotive get around very sharp curves, and a universal joint to let the drive shaft bend to match the angles of the trucks. Instead of the usual horizontal piston on each side, there's actually a set of vertical pistons running down to that single drive shaft to power everything. I'd hoped to see this running today, but since that didn't work out, I'll probably be back here for Labor Day weekend, a week after this video comes out, and I'll do a whole video on just this locomotive then. If you see me here, be sure to say hi. So as you can see, the sun's come out, and it's been a great day here at the Hesston Steam Museum. They're all volunteer here. It's really great, knowledgeable staff. If you're in the area, definitely stop by here in Hesston, Indiana. And these places are actually all over the place. You just have to go find them. And they preserve some incredible stuff. There's great stuff coming. We're going to try to be back here in 2 weeks. But in the meantime, whenever you can get out to a place like this, definitely go there. Because places like this are the Industrial Revolution. Hey, before you go, I do need your help to keep this channel growing. Easiest thing you can do is just like or subscribe to the video. That tells YouTube, hey, this channel is worth watching. It'll show it to more people. Other thing you can do, completely free, is just leave a comment. More than 2 or 3 words is all it takes, and that counts as YouTube interaction. That's the strongest signal you can send to YouTube to recommend a channel to other people. Beyond that, if you can help out, this channel is actually fairly expensive to run. I usually drive hour, 2 hours, 3 hours each way to get to these sites. So it can get pretty expensive. If you can help out with that, I have a Patreon page over at patreon.com/industrialrevolution. There's monthly memberships over there, or if you're interested in just a one-time contribution to help out, just hit the super thanks button on this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you at the next one.